The first reading we have the Sermon of Moses, where Moses is explaining to the people about the fact of God's law. And God's law will entail a curse for those who violate it and a blessing on those who follow it. And the way this was interpreted by the Jews, and I honestly think the way we've carried it down, is not that it's a blessing on those who try and follow it, but it's a blessing on each time you do follow it, and it's a curse on each time you violate it. And when Jesus began to teach, one of the things that we notice in the teaching of Jesus is that Jesus is very powerfully about what he's trying to do, and he's much more interested in being about what he's trying to do than the little things that people are talking about that may be violations of the law. Eating the grain. And incidentally, the problem with the grain is that if you're going to eat it, you rub it in order to get the outer shell off. And that's officially winnowing grain. That's forbidden. Okay? And the other thing, of course, is the idea of curing on the Sabbath, which the Pharisees interpreted as work on the Sabbath. But under the impact of the way Jesus lived and the way Jesus followed the law, we have that Pauline reading. You have to remember that while the gospel accounts were written after the epistles, it so happens that that particular story of Jesus and the knowledge of Jesus was in the community, and that's what gave birth to Paul's writings. But Paul looks at this, and basically he says, if we start weighing the rewards you get for what you do good and the punishments for what you do bad, then we have a real problem, because the problem is everybody sins. It would be nice if there's someone perfect somewhere. But we believe the Virgin Mary was perfect. We believe Jesus was perfect. And I don't think there are many candidates after that. Okay, but that's about it. Okay? And so what he tries to get across is what we actually see going on in the life of Jesus. That you and I are supposed to live a life of faith in God. And living a life of faith in God, you and I should look into our lives to see to the best of our ability that we're doing good, rather than the way the Jews ended up was keeping a list of everything they did wrong. I may have told you this, but when I was a youngster, one of the things that was really curious to me is that when I first made reconciliation, we used to go to Mass, go to reconciliation once a month, and we'd go before the first Friday every month. And in order to go to the sacrament of reconciliation, each evening we do an examination of conscience, find out what we'd done wrong during the day, and you did that so that when the time for reconciliation came up, you actually remembered it. But the effect of that is that we were constantly looking in our lives for sin. And if you're looking in your life for sin, trust me, you'll find it. Okay? And the reason is, it's there. But that's very discouraging in living a Christian life. You know, this coming Wednesday is the beginning of Lent. I'd like to tell you a practice that I was given in the seminary that I think is a really wonderful practice. Every evening before I go to bed, I go through the Beatitudes and try and look in my day for anything I did that actually was in one of the Beatitudes. You know, the care of people who are in need, the poverty, the humility. Just go through the Beatitudes and find out what you have done right in the day. It's a whole change in the way you look at your life. And I believe that's the real contrast between Jesus and the Jewish law. You know, in what they actually teach, it isn't really that different. But what you come out of the Jewish tradition is, look at every single mistake you made. And what you come out of the teaching of Jesus is, rejoice in every time you've done it right.